Today we're going to be looking at Chapter 5. I apologize for not having a PowerPoint for you last class. My computer's been kind of weird, so I'm kind of going to try to work with what I've got. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at Chapter 5, which is supply, and we're going to be tackling sections 1 and 2. So what we should do first is we should open up the PowerPoint, take our notes. I'm going to go over the answers to the checkpoints that you did from section 5.1. You will then be expected to copy the terms and complete the worksheet for 5.2 and submit this to Edmodo. This won't be due until Wednesday at noon. Wednesday, you'll have a short 10-question Edmodo quiz on what we covered today. It's going to come right from the notes in the textbook. So let's get started. All right, Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is all about supply. We're going to be looking at the supply curve and the shifts of the supply curve today. These are some questions that we might want to consider. Can a firm shut down without going out of business? All right, just kind of keep these things in the back of your mind. Lesson 1, the supply curve. So we're going to understand the law of supply and describe the elasticity of supply and explain how it's measured. So here are some key terms that we're going to be looking at. And some other aspects that we're going to be looking at for the law of supply for section 1. Basically, we're just going to go over why, profit's the incentive that motivates the behavior of suppliers. These are kind of just factors that deal with supply. So looking specifically at the role of profit, profit equals the total revenue minus the total cost. Total revenue is the total sales in dollars that is received from consumers for a certain time period. The total cost includes the cost of all resources used by a firm in producing goods or services. And over time, total revenue must cover the cost for the firm to survive. Breaking even is when you kind of cover the cost but don't make a profit. So looking specifically at supply indicates how much of a good producers are willing and able to offer for sale per period at each possible price, other things constant. The law of supply says that the quantity supplied is usually directly related to its price, other things constant. And the supply curve is a curve or line showing the quantities of a particular good supplied at different prices during a given time period, other things constant. So with supply, right, we remember that demand is a relationship between price and the quantity demanded, right? What price will people demand a product more? Whereas when we're looking at supply, we're looking at price and the quantity supplied. We're looking at from the producer end. So, at what price will a producer be willing to produce goods? And, what is this relationship? The law of supply, right? It says that the quantity supplied is usually related to the price. With this being said, with the law of supply, you should know that the lower the price, the lower the quantity supplied. That's weird because when the price is lower, consumers are willing to buy more. However, when the price is lower, the quantity supplied is lower, right? What's the incentive for a supplier or a producer? The incentive for a firm to sell goods and produce goods is a profit. So if you're not making a lot of money off of each individual item that is being sold or product that is being sold, you're not really incentivized to produce more of it. And with that being said, higher price. They want to make more money, right? So higher price, higher amount supplied. Okay. Hopefully you can read that. The supply curve is a curve or a line showing the quantities of a particular good supplied at various prices during a given time period. So basically the supply curve, with the supply curve, we're just going to kind of see, we're going to kind of be able to notice how different prices, okay? If it's a lower price, we're going to see that there won't be as much supplied. And if there's a higher price, we might see that there is more of a product supplied. Right? Let's look here. This is the supply schedule. Okay. So as you notice, the higher the price, the higher the amount supplied. Right? Down here. If pizza's $3, we're only going to supply 12 million per week. However, if pizza costs $15 per pie, right? We want to make more money. Producers want to make more money. So they're going to make more of that product. So here's the supply curve. So here's the price per pizza on this end. And millions of pizzas per week, right? The number of pizzas made per week is down here. You see how this climbs as more and as the price for pizza goes up and up, more and more is made down here, right? So when pizza went from $3 to $9, okay, we saw a production increase of 8, right? Of 8 million. Right here. We saw that when the price of pizza rose $6, we saw that it also increased in supply. It was supplied more. More willing to supply. As a price increases, a producer becomes more willing to supply the good. I said this earlier, right? If it's more expensive if the price can go up, not the price to make it. Keep that in mind. Oh, sweet Lord. Okay. The price that it's sold, the selling price, right? As that increases, a producer becomes more and willing to supply this good. Price acts as a signal to existing and potential suppliers about the rewards for producing various goods. Do I want to produce this good? You know what? I'm not really going to make a great profit off of it. You know what? I'm not going to supply that much of that good. Right? However, if the price of pizza goes up, right? Or look down here. Let's look at this section. Higher price makes the production more profitable and attracts resources from lower valued uses. So if I can make a pizza and sell it for $15 and use resources that are super, super affordable and cheap to me, I'm going to increase my production of pizza pies. Sorry. No, you're good. Come here, Dennis. Come here. He's like, when the prices are higher, it increases the producer's ability to actually supply the goods. So the higher the price, the bigger the profit they're gaining, and the more capital that they have to increase production, right? To increase the supply. This is all coming from the producer's point of view, whereas before this, we were looking at the consumer's point of view. When we look at the marginal cost of production, we look at like the extra costs. So the marginal cost of production increases as output increases. A higher price makes producers more able to increase the quantities supplied. Supply versus quantity supplied. So when we're looking at, these are different, right? Supply versus quantity supplied. If we're looking at this, okay, supply is the entire relation between the price and the quantity supplied. And this is reflected by the supply schedule or the supply curve. Quantity supplied refers to a particular amount offered for sale at a particular price as reflected by a point on a given supply curve. Individual supply. Let's see. Let's go back to supply versus quantity supplied, right? So the quantity supplied that increases with a higher price, right? That's not supply. When we're looking at the term supply by itself, we're referring to the entire supply schedule or this entire supply curve. Okay, if you have questions about this, just let me know. I know it's a little bit confusing. Individual supply, the supply of an individual producer. So this is like an individual business supplying goods, right? Producing goods. Whereas market supply looks at all of the producers in the market. So let's say that we're looking at two pizza firms, right, for the pizza market. So to find the market supply curve, we just add the supply curves from the individuals. So look here, we have Pizza Palace, that's A, Pizza Castle is B. Okay, so they're making about 400 to 500 pizzas a week at $9 and $12. Okay, and the same thing over here, right? Same thing over here. Now, what we do is to find the market supply of pizza throughout the entire pizza market, we just add those, right? So we add 400 to 300, we get 700, add 500 to 400, and we get 9, right? So the entire pizza market, this is what we're looking at. These are the prices and the pizzas per week that we are looking at. The market supply curve is the horizontal sum of each supply curve, right? So we're looking here, horizontal supply. We looked at elasticity before. So the elasticity of supply measures how responsive producers are to a price change. Before we looked at demand, right? How responsive are consumers to a price change? Well, now we're looking at producers. The elasticity of supply equals the percentage of change in quantity supplied divided in the percentage change in price. Okay? Percentage change in the quantity that is supplied or produced, right? Divided by the percentage change in the price. And that's how we find out how responsive producers are to the price. So supply is elastic if the supply elasticity exceeds 1. Supply is unit elastic if the supply elasticity equals 1. And supply is inelastic if the supply elasticity is less than 1. What kind of variables or factors determine elasticity? Okay, these are called your determinants of supply elasticity. An important one is the length of the adjustment period under consideration. The elasticity of supply is typically greater the longer the period of adjustment. Okay, right, and elasticity is the responsiveness of a producer to create more of a good. So look here. The market supply becomes more elastic over time. So we're looking at the price per gallon here. And we are looking at the price per gallon for, let's say, gas. We will see that millions of gallons per day will steadily increase horizontally, right? We see that it becomes more elastic over time because producers see the value in it and will produce more of it as time goes on. So to go over the checkpoint questions from 5.1, right? So the first checkpoint question was on page 137, and it says, explain the law of supply in your own words. So pretty much this varied from student to student. However, you could say that, the quantity supplied is directly related to the price. Lower the price, less is supplied. Higher the price, more is supplied. Why? What is the incentivizing factor? Profit. The next checkpoint question was on page, it wasn't just one, was there? Maybe there was. Oh no. Next one's on page 140. What does the elasticity of supply measure and what factors influence its numerical value? So elasticity of supply measures the responsiveness of the quantity supplied to the price change, right? How much more or less will be produced given a price change? The percentage change in quantities supplied affects the elasticity of supply directly. Okay? Quantities supplied affects elasticity of supply directly, whereas the percentage change in price affects the elasticity of supply indirectly. So now we're looking at 5.2. So, 1 second. Okay. So now we're looking at shifts of the supply curve. We're going to identify the determinants of supply, explain how a change in each can affect the supply curve. And we're going to contrast a movement along the supply curve with a shift of the supply curve, right? Movement along the supply curve is not the same as a shift. And we saw this with the demand curve as well. Here are some of our vocabs. All right, so determinants of supply. 5 determinants of market supply other than the price of the good include the cost of resources that are used to make it, the price of other goods that these resources could make, producer expectations, and the number of sellers in the market. When we look at changes in the price of resources, okay, any change in the cost of a resource used to make a good is going to affect the supply of the good, right? Let's say that you are the owner of a pizza shop and the price of cheese drops dramatically. The price of cheese drops dramatically. You can still be making the same amount of pizzas at the same price and you're going to be making a better profit. Why? Because one of your ingredients their prices just got slashed, right? An increase in supply means that the producers are more willing and able to supply more goods at each price. An increase in the price of a resource will reduce supply, meaning you'll see a leftward shift of the supply curve. When we say leftward shift, we are talking about the charts on both pages 144 and 145. Okay? Right. And like I said, with the mozzarella cheese, say that the price of cheese does drop, you can make more pizzas because that's money that you're saving that you usually would spend on cheese, but you can put it towards production. Okay, a change in the price of another good certain resources can make affects the opportunity cost of making a particular good. We see changes in technology. We know that discoveries in chemistry, biology, electronics, and other fields have created new products and improved existing products, lowering the cost of production. Trying to think of an example. So many examples. Just like computers, on page 45, it talks about the first microprocessor, the Intel 4004. This could execute about 400 computations a day, or within 400 computations per second in a day, right? Whereas now, that number is so small compared to what we're capable of doing now. Think of it, like people can run businesses from their homes now. They can work from home rather than going into a physical workplace. We're actually doing this right now. Producer expectations, right? So any change that affects producer expectations about profitability can affect market supply. Think about it. You know what? We don't sell as much ice cream in the winter that we do in the summer. How about we don't buy as many gallons so we don't waste it, right? Still selling, still making money, but we're shifting We're shifting things like our resources and our supply because of a producer expectation. An expectation of higher prices in the future can increase or decrease current supply depending on what good it is. The changes in the number of sellers in the market. Government regulations may influence market supply. Any government action that affects a market's profitability, right, ability to make a profit, like change in business taxes, can shift the supply curve. For example, in Philadelphia, there's a soda tax. There's a tax on sugary drinks. Maybe people say to themselves, you know what? Because of that tax, I'm not going to buy my soda anymore. Like, whatever. I'm not going to buy my soda. Okay. So what will happen is people in the market probably won't sell as much soda. So they're not going to purchase sodas to stock their stores as much as they typically would. Okay. This is one of the charts that I was talking about from page 144. An increase in the market supply for pizza, right? Here are the prices. We see millions of pizzas per week down here. Okay. We can increase the supply for pizza, right? We can increase the supply for pizza, even if it's still at $12, right? We see a decrease, right? Maybe something happened in the supply for pizza. Maybe cheese became more expensive. Maybe, the market supply pizza just isn't necessarily selling like it would. We'll see a leftward shift, right? A leftward shift because we are producing less pizzas along this horizontal line. So movements along a supply curve versus shifts. Movements and shifts are different things. A change in price, while other things are constant, right? A change in price causes a movement along the supply curve from one price quantity combo to another. A change in one of the determinants, like technology, right? A change in one of the determinants of supply, other than the price, causes a shift, which changes supply. Doesn't change the price, but it changes the supply. Okay, so that is lesson 1 and 2 from chapter 5. You know that you have an assignment to complete after this. I'm attaching a worksheet, and you have to complete the bolded terms for 5.2. You have to read 5.2. Please get that done, submit it. That will be due on Wednesday at noon. Let me know if there's anything else I can do for you. If something was unclear, please shoot me an email. We can Zoom. I'm also going to try to set up a time for our class to Zoom because I think it's important that we get to ask questions and get immediate responses. So let me know, and I'll be really glad to help you out and clear things up if I have to. All right, girls, have a good day. I will talk to you soon.